For the fans. For the players. For the big plays. Firebirds Weekly. This week's guest is Coach Jordan Gooch.
Welcome to the newest edition of Firebirds Weekly, a postseason, after the season edition of Firebirds Weekly on a Thursday. I'm your co-host, Adam Samarov, with my other co-host, Chris Sipperly. And in the middle, we have someone who plays two different roles on the Albany Firebirds, undefeated championship team, coach and equipment manager, Jordan Gooch. Jordan, how are we doing this evening?
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan of the show.
Oh, we're a big fan of you being on the show, so it works out. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for being available to us. I know you're a busy guy, in season or out of season. So with that, let's get to know you a little bit for everyone else out there.
So you're a Hudson Valley guy, a Catskills guy. Went to Cairo, graduated in 2019. So you're a young buck, and and then after that, you go to Hudson Valley. Great institution. They got some good football and great academics as well. Tell me about going to Hudson Valley and making that commitment to head and play for the Vikings.
Going to Hudson Valley out of high school was really a great decision. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do in my future, and it's obviously a really cheap option. And then I really wanted to play football somewhere at a university, and I didn't exactly know where I wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the JUCO football, and I was very blessed to have some great coaches over there. Coach Brian Lewis, who also is one of our intern coaches, he completely changed my life over there.
I didn't know that.
Yep, I owe almost everything I've done since Hudson Valley to him. He completely changed the way I thought. So I went to Hudson Valley, played some receiver there, played some running back. And then COVID came around, and that
of course.
Yep. So that kind of ended the college playing career. I did play some flag in that, but those days are kind of over for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, and we actually, interviewing guys that we've done over this whole year, and talking to guys, it's not surprising because we all know what COVID was about, but it's kind of like it represents a fork in the road for a lot of guys. Like, COVID made it so they ended up changing schools. They ended up getting closer to home, this and that and the other thing. So, it's kind of interesting. We talk about that. I mean, it came out 5 years ago. It's been that long. You don't think of it that way, but, COVID was a fork in the road for a lot of guys.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in life that can happen that are really negative at the time. And as you go through that and as you go through it, you're oddly kind of grateful for what happened. And that's kind of where I'm at with how COVID.
So do you think you took some time unintentionally to kind of really think about what the next thing was for you since you had that extra time where the world kind of stopped spinning for a little while for you? Well, the world, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. It ended up being kind of a confusing time because I went, I started working in the trades.
Yep.
And whatever you're doing, that's where most of your influence is. So I had a lot of influence in the trade. So I kind of decided I was going to do that, and took a little gap year off school. Eventually, I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and I went back to school. But
you had that time, though. That's the thing. Like
yes,
that's the hard. I mean, I remember getting out of high school and trying to make the right decision. You felt like you had to make that decision, not with the amount of time, the necessary amount of time you felt you needed. But on the flip side, you can't sit around and wait. So it's an important part of your life.
Yeah. Like right now, there's kids I coach graduating high school right now, and they aren't really sure what they want to do. They don't know if they want to go into the trades, into college, whatever it is, and they're thinking about taking a gap year or whatever to figure things out. And I always tell them, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure wherever you're working over the summer and winter, you need to have great mentors. It could be whatever, but as long as you have somebody to push you and make you be the best version of yourself every day and push you to be a better person, then
it's time well spent.
You're all right. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I am an assistant for Mount Anthony High School in Bennington, and it's the same way where we tell these kids like just they're getting to be seniors, and it's like, okay, football's only going to last you so long. Like, make sure that you're getting it done. Otherwise, whatever you decide that you want to do. So it's definitely good there. How did the coaching career get started? Tell me about being able to coach and how that kind of happened.
So as COVID happened, obviously that fall they didn't play football. Then they played football in the spring
Mhm.
of that year.
Still the strangest thing ever.
It was
Mhm.
very strange. I wasn't around my high school ball at that time. I was still focusing on Hudson Valley and myself.
Mhm.
But then going into the fall, when I started doing the electrical and stopped going to school for that year, the opportunity presented that I could coach at the high school, and
Okay.
I knew, as I was in high school, that I was going to coach.
Yep.
So
Was it in your hometown?
yes, in my
Yeah.
hometown, and I felt like, they just didn't really have a lot of support. They only had a handful of coaches, and I
Mhm.
felt like, some of those kids I played with, so they were really like little brothers to me. So I really wanted to give back to them and teach them the things I learned from Hudson Valley.
Yeah, that's
The alumni network, having that is
yeah,
huge.
it is. It is because we did the pregame show a few weeks ago before the championship game, and both head coaches made a mention of the athletes today being different, and I think that's really important. Like both those guys are obviously wise enough and engaged enough to really figure out what these new athletes need to hear and see to kind of go. So in a lot of ways, you being able to relate to them right out of the box, it is a blessing. But as you get older, obviously you're going to have to change with the times as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I felt like I could really relate to them and tell them kind of how it is. I could be that big brother um, in that situation. Um, but it really it was a great opportunity, and I'm really happy I took that. So
Yeah.
How was it transitioning? We've actually, it's kind of funny. We talked to Cisse and Hobbs, and I swear to God, both of those guys could put on a jersey right now and do what they need to do. Was it part of that for you? Like, hey, I can still play, or was it like, okay, now I'm gonna lead the next group coming?
yeah, every day at practice I had cleats on. I wasn't goofing around or nothing, but the one thing that I felt like I could do is I was pretty good at doing drills. I worked
Hmm.
really hard doing drills, and I felt like I stood out with that. So I could go through these drills and kind of show them, oh, okay, this is the speed. This is what this is supposed to look like.
Hmm.
And I couldn't help myself.
Did you run into any problems as a young coach having guys follow you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
That's definitely something you've got to overcome. But once you can show them that if you take this information from me and you trust it,
Hmm.
and they see that they've gotten better from it,
The
and they
value in
can
it in the
trust
end.
you,
Yep.
yeah, then they'll look up to you just like
Just-
any other coach.
Yeah.
Even if I'm 2 years older than them
Mm.
or same age, even
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
I'm the same age as some of these guys, and
Mhm.
they still trust what I say to them, which is awesome.
So tell me, going from Hudson Valley, and obviously Damon is there, and I think Cisse is there also. Talk about the opportunity to come onto the Firebirds. I guess starting as an intern. Like, tell me about the process of coming from that, from working at Hudson Valley to coming over and working with the Firebirds, and how that kind of happened.
So I was still coaching high school when I started with the Firebirds. I was coaching high school, and I kind of felt like I wanted to take my game to the next level,
Mhm.
and I was putting a lot more effort into the game than some other people, and I just really wanted to go for it. I wanted to chase my dreams, of course.
Mhm.
And one of my head coaches, or one of my coaches at the school when I played, Coach Nick Fitzgerald. He's a Hall of Fame coach in Section 2
Mm-hmm.
football.
Yep.
He coached for the Firebirds, I
Okay.
think, for a couple years in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think when they won the championship season. But he just reached out to me and was like, hey, there's this opportunity for an internship.
Mhm.
And, I put my name in, and they gave me a call. And I remember it was Hollis that called me.
Mhm.
And I had a great conversation with Hollis. And then he asked me what my schedule was. And my schedule was was absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually, for a while there, he was like, all right, well, he's too busy. I'm gonna have to go with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that can. He just doesn't have enough time that he can spend with us.
Mm-hmm.
So then camp was rolling right around, and I gave Hollis a call again, and I was like, look, I'll be there. Just let me know when I need to be there and what days, and I will be there. And I was there, and the first 2 weeks, that was a little rough. I really thought that I wasn't going to make it. I didn't think that I was good enough, or
Mm-hmm.
or could even do that. I mean, it was really rough 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I worked my tail off. And then I ended up gaining trust from the coaches and started to put some real value into the organization. And now we're here.
We talked to Damon, and his work ethic, it seems like it's a legendary thing, like how much he puts in. He's the fact that he's the head coach and general manager of this team. And, he's kind of talked about, if you're going to be on my staff, you're going to, put in, that work and work as hard as you can and as much as you need to get the job done. Was that a different transition, or was that like, okay, hey, like this is something I'm used to, and you tell me where to go, you tell me how high to jump, and I'll, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was kind of you get in what you put out, kind of deal. Obviously, with his interns, he wants them all to coach. He wants them all to have some responsibilities. And I took those responsibilities and I did them to the best of my ability. I worked as hard as I could, and then it was like slowly throughout the season I started to get more and more responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, all right, well, I'm going to break down film. I'll help with some drills here and there. All right, now I'm going to break down film for the offense. All right, hold
Mm-hmm.
up. Now I'm going to have responsibilities during the game. Okay, now I'm going to be up in the box for
Mm-hmm.
the defense.
Yep.
All right, now you're going to travel with us to away games, which was truly amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kept building and building the harder and harder I worked. I mean, I spent a lot of time with them. I was in every meeting I could be in. If they said, hey, we got to be there, we got to be at the office at 5 a.m. I was there at 5 a.m. and we wouldn't leave until 8-9 o'clock at night, and it was repeat.
Mm.
So you talk about your responsibilities growing from year to year, or maybe even
Week to week.
It sounds like, is it a matter of like just getting that trust overall, or is it just really you're kind of playing for Damon, I guess, at that point? You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously those other guys, are obviously you're a part of that process, but is it almost like because Damon expects so much, you're kind of like, I just got to make sure I'm doing as much as I can do, and when he realizes that, then the responsibilities grow.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely doing the work that he expected me to do, and then I was making sure I did that better than he thought I would have, if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
if I was
I do.
making
Yep.
a scouting report or breaking down film, I did it to where a player could look at it and instantly know what was going on. So
Mm-hmm.
I tried to take whatever responsibilities I had, and I just did them to the best that they could be.
What do you feel that your best quality is as a coach? Is it breaking down film? Is it like doing the drills? Is it working with the guy? Like, if you had to look at yourself in the mirror and go, what's the thing you do best as a coach, with these guys, but also the high school kids?
I think it kind of changes where I'm at. Like if I was applying for a job somewhere, because I don't have a lot of experience, I would say, I can break down film and do all the analytics
Mm-hmm.
and make the scouting reports, and then go on and do drills and coach a position group. Just because I don't have the experience to have somebody say, what, this guy has this much value, he
Mm-hmm.
can do this. But at high school, I I could definitely do a whole lot at the college. I have my position group. There's the scout team, of course. That's also one of my responsibilities, is running the scout
Mm-hmm.
team. And
I do that too. I really enjoy doing that, working with the younger kids to help out. So
yeah,
that's a good one.
it's great, and it's really, really important. When the scout team's going against the ones,
Yep.
they've got to be right. And coaching a scout defense can be difficult at times. But again, I try to make it as easy as possible for the kids. But I would say it really depends, what I wanted to do. Could I go back to high school and, run an offense? Okay, maybe, yeah, probably. But could I go to Syracuse and, what would I do there? I'd probably would just be, an analytics guy and work my way up.
So being one of the newer, well, this year you weren't newer, but getting started, how did you kind of start to find your voice in terms of being able to work with the coaches beyond the head coach? Like how did that process begin? Like how did your bonding kind of take place? Like how did that kind of come together? Because obviously when you're new, the group is new, and being a younger, like I'm assuming younger, the group year one, how do you kind of, how does that relationship build, and how does it become a family environment in terms
Yeah,
of
so
coaching?
I show them that I have work ethic and I'm going to
Mhm.
work my tail off for them, whatever
Mhm.
they need me to do. And then I asked a lot of questions. Thank you guys for answering all those questions, but I asked a lot of questions so I
Mhm.
could learn more about the game.
Mhm.
And then once you show them that, hey, I know the game, I know
Mhm.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean they can trust you for a lot of things.
We have a comment here from Jake Labrie. It says tape measure, and it's a funny thing. Is that some inside joke or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm looking for my tape measure if anyone's found it.
Okay.
JG on it. That's a nice one. It's an expensive one. It was my one.
Give him his tape measure back. If anybody's got it,
Yep.
somebody better find it.
It's probably in Jake's top desk drawer.
Probably.
We looked.
So another role that you've had is as the equipment manager. How have you? Well, okay. So tell me about that. How did that you get to that role? How did that role happen?
When I was coaching Alex Malley with Coach Ware and Coach Cisse, I think they started to see that what I could do, and with my work ethic,
Mhm.
they felt like they could trust me more. And then they presented the opportunity, and they were like, "Hey, we really want to get you on the staff. This is an opportunity to get you onto the staff."
Mhm.
And like I said, I'm gonna do
To go
whatever.
from being an intern to like an actual member
Yeah.
of the staff that's not like an internship type of
Yeah,
thing.
for sure. And I'm gonna do whatever I can to help win a championship.
So
And that worked out.
how did you manage that? Obviously, you can't be up, in the second level and be the equipment manager on game day. So
Mhm.
how does that work?
So we had an equipment intern, Garrett Murphy,
Hmm.
who was with us all season, and he did an amazing job. He's a really hardworking kid, and
Hmm.
you know, he was like me. Whatever you need me to do,
Mm.
I'm gonna do it, and that's what he did. So he was an absolute great help. He added a lot of good value to the team, and definitely helped us win some games at some times.
So being on the second level, with I was up there one of the games. You're up there with Hobbs, and forgive me, the other
Coach
coach.
Lewis.
Thank you. We need to have him on too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do.
Do you guys? I'm assuming, based on history, are you guys kind of tasked with communicating down the coach for a challenge?
Yes.
Yep.
I was last year. I had a lot to do with the challenges,
Yep.
and I did this year. Um, yeah, that's a scary one,
Yeah.
especially in close games. But
Yep.
yeah, I
Yeah, you're
had that
probably like, I better
responsibility.
be right.
Yeah,
I
and
better know what I'm talking about.
the one thing I can say about myself is I can definitely see from both sides.
Hmm.
Even when I'm like, watching football, it's my favorite team or whatever.
Hmm.
If that's a holding or
Yeah.
that's a fumble, man.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
So you must be pretty much married to the rule book then.
yes, that
So
rule
that
book.
means somebody has a copy of it.
Yes, we.
That's been a thing for us for a long time.
I got you. Yeah, it's a big rule book.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of interesting rules that are a lot different from
Hmm.
outdoor game or
Hmm.
IFL.
Yeah.
Was that something that again, as a coach, is that something you had to learn? We talked to the guys, and it's we've asked most of them, what's different between the outdoor game that you grew up playing and the indoor game, specifically the arena, game like AF1, not like indoor where it's the same, just inside, and just learning those rules and how you have to coach or help with coaching because you're like, oh, this rule doesn't exist outside. it does inside. So we got to make sure we're playing it based on that. You know what I mean? Like, how hard was that to work on that or to get that going?
Yeah, I think the fullback position is a great representation of kind of the similarities, but the differences between outdoor and indoor. Even running wise, things are a lot tighter. They're a lot faster. Protection wise, we have to work a double team with a center, which it just doesn't happen too much in the outdoor game with a fullback. It's there's a lot of differences that you have to learn, and it takes time to learn. But everything is very similar, and it's all the basics that you would get from Pop Warner.
What makes working, and I'll say it basically for everybody, I guess, but I'll kind of preface it with Coach Ware. What makes working with Coach Ware such a great experience as a coach, learning, as a young coach?
I think right now I'm in a perfect place. I have this great opportunity to have a great mentor who it's like he doesn't break. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't break. There's so many things I've learned from him. Not even you can forget football, just how many things I've learned from him in life, in business, just his work ethic. He gets like 3 hours of sleep and he still functions at a high level. I don't know how he does that, but
Nanny.
yeah. But, being young and making sure that you have some good mentors and some really good influence, that's super important. He genuinely, makes me be the best version of myself every day. So I couldn't be more grateful to be in this position with him.
Well, apparently you've made a mark on Henry, because he just put in the comments, the man, the myth, the legend, the Goochinator. Henry's watching.
Love you, Henry.
Talk about the playoff run, beating Salina and then obviously winning the championship. Just talk about the whirlwind of the last couple of weeks of the year, getting ready for playoffs. Like it really is a thing. It's kind of a cliche, but it's like everybody raising their game when the games get bigger. Just talk about your role in the last couple of weeks of just getting ready and then just being a part of celebrating, the first championship for the Firebirds since 1999.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the regular season first. Is that when you're in the regular season, you just go week by week. I didn't even know we were 8-0 until after once we had our bye week, just because it was all right. The game's over. What did we do wrong? Let me look at all these things that we got to fix. All right, who are we playing now? We're playing Washington. All right, let's go.
Yep.
So then changing into all right, we need 2 games that we absolutely have to win. We have to play our best. There can't be any mistakes. It's quite a change. And with Salina, with my position group, we were going to see a really good MAC linebacker that we had some problems against. So we had, not a lot of time to prepare for that. But we prepared as much as we could, and we took care of business that day. And then going into the championship game, it was actually really good because everything we did coaching wise to prepare for the week of practice and for the game, we started to make a process of that. And by the time we got to that last week, everything we needed to do was pretty much done on Sunday.
So when you're looking,
or on Monday,
I don't need trade secrets, but when you're trying to prepare for that linebacker, was it more of a scheme stuff, or is it more of a position thing, or is it more of running different sort of patterns against that linebacker, or is it more just about being aware of that linebacker more?
I think it's learning who he is
Yep.
and what his strengths and weaknesses are, and analyzing a lot of what he does. We pretty much knew exactly what he was going to do, and then
cheats of signs.
Yeah, I mean, it's really
just that sort of thing.
Yeah, proper breaking down film. There's scheme obviously because we have to work the double team with the center, but even if we're one-on-one with him, which we were going to be, we knew we were going to be because that's how he liked to play us. Is just figuring out who he was, getting the numbers on that, and then having that done by Monday, and then we practice Tuesday.
Yeah.
Now, my job is a scout team. Now for scout team, I can say, hey, Mac linebacker, I need you to do this and this.
To give that right look.
Yeah. So, by Monday, we always knew exactly what we were going to do for the entire week to prepare for the game.
Now, how often do you think, based on your preparation, I'm guessing not very often, but how often was it a 180 from what you actually prepared for? At least for a short period of time in terms of having to make an adjustment.
There wasn't too many times. I know, I guess I'm speaking a little too much football talk and some secrets. But,
we don't need to say.
There was some times that,
fine.
We thought things were going to happen and they didn't that much.
Mhm.
But again, if you're prepared enough,
right,
you can handle the situation.
Right, we
were prepared.
Right, you're not going in with plan A and that's it.
No, you can't.
That's right.
Right, you got A, B, and C, and
D.
Just keep going.
Yep. Gotcha. No, you have to listen. You want to keep this thing going. We don't need to be put in timeout.
I mean, of course, it all comes down to the basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
If you can do the basic fundamentals, you can prevent 90% of the things we were going to see.
Mhm.
So as we went through the whole season, we made sure that we had that down, especially coming out of the bye week. We just took some time off. We had to be. You can't go to step 6 when you're not doing step 1 right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we really needed to make sure step 1, 2, and 3 were on point.
How important was it for you in year 2 to just be consistent? Like having the things around you being consistent, the things that you're counting on being consistent. What I mean by that is schedule,
Mhm.
and things weren't upside down nearly as much as they were last year. I had to make things a lot smoother, and not having to manage all the stuff that you can't control.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure. I was just having a conversation with one of my running backs on Hudson Valley, and one of the things we were talking about is, him and I are kind of alike. Is that if we prepare the right way, we're going to be more confident and we're going to be able to win what we're doing. But then at times when we're not prepared, we don't feel like ourselves and we can't get it done. And one of the things I've learned through last year and this year is, when things come up, some troubling things come up, you've got to be able to win off that in whatever way, shape, or form. And that was just week by week. I mean, you would be amazed by the things that come up during the week to week. It's very interesting.
What's your what would you say is the fondest memory of this year? And you can't say the championship.
I would say, without a doubt, the home Nashville game. That was a game that when I went home that night, I felt very satisfied with how we played all together, with my position group, how the coaches did, how they coached, how I coached, how I did throughout the day, even the interns. That was just a greatly executed a day. So
satisfying, but it felt right.
Yes, it did. And
I know
one of the things is like, when you go week to week, and you're making tiny little mistakes, it's just who I am. Like I can only think about getting better and getting better and getting better. And that was one week where I was like, man, like we really held it down. We really did exactly what we were supposed to do. And I felt like we didn't make a lot of mistakes, and we didn't have to go back and say, all right, man, we got to fix this, we got to fix that. Felt like we were right
from afar. I think, again, as fans and people that watch this team, I think your first two away games, I think made your season, because that team no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
Those mistakes no longer exist. Like that, I don't even recognize that team that was not playing great on the road. Like that team disappeared. So there's a huge, I would like to give you guys a ton of credit. You guys never were in trouble necessarily, but it didn't look right. You won, but I know in-house, like, we have to be better. And I feel like you guys really turned it on after those away games. And I think that's something that you should be very proud of. I think anyway.
Yeah, we were, and that's the perfect time. That Nashville game, what was that, week
2 or 3?
It was like the second Nashville game. I think that was week 6.
Okay.
Something. So
yeah, the one at MVP.
Yeah, it was towards the middle of the season.
Yes.
And this is when we're about to make or break it for playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was right at the perfect time where we got through all the mishaps in that, and we worked them, and now we played a great game.
Yep.
So it was perfect, and then we played great pretty much since then.
No, I agree. Like totally, like it was like I don't know. It's almost like I've done some coaching, obviously at a different level, but it usually takes like a quarter of the season, if not half the season, to really know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you learn pretty quick what you didn't want to do, and that disappeared. Like I'm telling you, that team was very good. I don't need to tell you, but very good after that first road trip was over. It was pretty much you know what you got to do. You know who you have, and you know how it's going to go.
For sure. I mean, it was only not even was it almost 2 weeks away from now. Like it hasn't even hit.
Yeah.
The season hasn't even hit yet.
Yeah.
And I know that there's never going to be. I can't say never, but there won't be. It's going to be really hard to find something like that again, where we can just show up and ball out and be like, man, we are smoking these dudes.
Well, we'll see what happens. I know Damon talked about a lot of guys wanting to come back. Obviously, the way that the league works, it's a little bit more in terms of like free agency, things like that. But I know a lot of guys want to come back and kind of run it back, and I'm sure that you'll be a big part of that as well. What's like your goal in terms of coaching? Is it something where you want to go on and coach at the high school level, continue coaching here, try to what's the aspirations for you in terms of your coaching career and how you want to keep going in the sport?
If it was like my dream, I would be a college coach somewhere at an FBS school. There's something about coaching college kids that's there's just something about it that I really, really enjoy. I know there's some things with the transfer portal and things like, how things are kind of going right now. But, right now, for instance, at Hudson Valley, we have these guys for 2 years. Like you're locked in here for 2 years. I need to have them developed and ready to go somewhere else in 2 years. Like those are my guys. You know what I mean? And then just to be playing, if I was coaching in SEC football, I couldn't even imagine that.
Have you guys? I mean, obviously you've started. Yeah, obviously all the recruiting is over, and it's just a matter of getting getting these guys in here and getting going. Where are you right now in terms of Hudson Valley and that process? I think camp will probably start in a few weeks, right?
Yep, August 1st camp starts.
Yeah. So what have you guys been? What have you been doing to kind of get ready for the 2025-26 year for the Vikings?
Well, Coach Ware is going to be the offensive coordinator this season, so we've needed to get to what he likes to do. I already know what he likes to do, but for the other guys, what he likes, what he doesn't like, how his system works. So it's been a lot of that, but right now it's just planning out how camp is going to go and the little things. But we are excited. We had a meeting Monday after the championship game, and Cisse, myself, and Coach Ware were in the office, and we were talking. We're like, man, yesterday, we just won a championship game, and all I could think about was Hudson Valley and going over there and trying to win a championship. So we're ready to go. We're really excited for it. I can't wait. The clock is ticking. And we'll see how the season goes.
But it's gonna be fun, just to kind of keep an eye on you guys and how Hudson Valley does, and then obviously coming back around next year for the Firebirds. Jordan Gooch, we'd like to thank you for coming on the podcast, and we will definitely talk to you very soon, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.